So, let's talk cartoons again, because that was so great last time. So, you know what regular show is, right? Well, there was once an episode on the show called Meet Your Maker, which was reviewed by a user by the name of Jack, and the review was crap. So two commentators by the name of 8363MTR and Dynamo the Dumb did a commentary on it. 2 years later, a commentator by the name of Asriel 101 upgraded covered the video, and I have problems with it. So let's commentate.
Well, your intro actually isn't bad. There's only one point that I actually could say. It's that when you're talking about Comm Jack in this video, you don't show a picture of this video or even show pictures of his avatar, and just show pictures, or videos in this case, of Mario fighting those Koopalings and showing more footage of Super Mario Kart and the retro games. Sure, it's not really a minor problem, it's really fucking minor, but
What's the issue? Seriously, why is this even a problem that they didn't show Comet Jack's avatar or the thumbnail of his video? Heck, they even established what Comet Jack's title was and addressed the fact that he was the target in the intro. Elaboration, it can save one's life. On top of that, and this is a reoccurring issue throughout the video, your audio balancing kinda sucks. Your background music overpowers your voice, and it can be hard to hear you at times. I recommend turning down your background music tracks in Audacity. By the way, it's free, and you should probably record in it as well. If you don't want to do that, you can at least turn down the background music in your editor. Finally, that bit at the end. I can't understand that at all. The pitch is just way too high for it to be audible. TLDR, get good. Okay, here's a post point. While editing, I realized that I was kind of over-exaggerating how loud Asriel's background music was. I realized that it wasn't as loud as I made it out to be. Not really outweighing her voice, but instead being on the same level as it. Basically, I was in the wrong. My bad.
Benson preparing a barbecue. Well, I have a little surprise. I was getting excited for the annual barbecue, so in addition to putting on this shirt, I splurged on some super extra premium grade A hot dogs. What? Super extra premium grade A hot dogs. Who came up with that name? Okay, what exactly is wrong with it? I mean, along with your poor acting and your somewhat monotone voice, you should have elaborated on exactly why the name is stupid to begin with, just to guarantee you could get that point home.
there's two reasons for that. How and what the name was. Benson said it in a way that it was like super premium hot dogs, and he looks bland as hell with that beady eye face.
But it's Comet Jack's job to say why this name is stupid. When he doesn't explain this, it can leave the audience in the dust.
But another problem is, he hated the name because, well, the name was too ridiculous. Also, you could add a point here. Now, this point doesn't have anything to do with the video itself, it's just that, why didn't you explain why he zoomed it out? Sure, you don't really talk about it, like, at all, but it's still a major issue with the video, and does come off as unnerving.
Again, that doesn't change the fact that it was Comet Jack's job to elaborate on why the name is stupid, yet he didn't do that. That is what Dynamo wanted, an explanation from Comet Jack. Also, why didn't you talk about how he zoomed it out? Zoomed what out? You mean the footage of the episode? And why is this unnerving? Expand on your points.
Mordecai. For the whole episode, he's a dick to Rigby for things that, by the way, he's also guilty of.
Yeah, prepare for that statement to blow up on his face in a few seconds. Well, literally, that is.
Dumble.
Oh boy!
Okay, I know you have Kindmaster, and you aren't working with the best editor in the world, but couldn't you have put this interjection before the video cuts back to Comet Jack? Don't you think that would have made the joke work much better because the joke was targeted towards MTR?
Don't believe me? Well, after Ricky burned the hot dogs, he threw the grill into the river. I told you it blew up on his face! Well, yeah, he threw the grill in the river because the hot dogs were on fire. If he didn't stop the fire as soon as possible, it could have very well spread off the grill onto, say, the grass, for example. If anything, Rigby is completely at fault for this, and Mordecai is forced to stop it before anything could happen.
Oh my god, do you even know what the fuck the top part of the grill is for? Also, if you're gonna be saying that it's for instincts, like you will say later, it's probably like the worst idea to do it. First off, you could have just used a towel to blow out the fire. Blow out the fire. You literally put a towel on top of it so it can just, stop burning. If there's two possibilities for that. It will stop, or it will catch the thing on fire, which is kind of a loose end.
You do know the towel could easily catch on fire, right? Sure, using something that generates the wind, like a towel, can put out the fire, but the towel could still catch on fire itself. That, and this implies that they had a towel nearby, which I don't think they did. I guess you could say that they could get a towel from somewhere else, but what if the grass catches on fire before they can retrieve one? So basically either they used a towel and it works, or it catches on fire, meaning that this is determined by luck. Yes, I know you acknowledge this.
And if there's two possibilities for that, it will stop, or it will catch the thing on fire.
But it's still something that can happen. Plus, let's be honest here, throwing the grill into the river was just much more effective. Also, we're going back to nitpick land. Yay. Look, I know when people record, they often stutter. I also stutter a lot while recording. However, I'd recommend for you to retake your lines, or just cut out the stuttering when you are editing. And if this video wasn't scripted, use a script. Trust me, as a person who used to go unscripted in videos, using a script helped me a lot.
I'm not going to be talking about the fire extinguisher because they're going to be talking about that later, and trust me, they're going to screw it up even harder.
I guess that's why Benson told me not to grill. What?
If it takes 2 minutes to get to your next point, then you should probably speed up the context so it doesn't needlessly drag on.
I'm so sorry. Come on, man. No more come on, mans. Benson's gonna totally blame me, and it's all your fault. Blow it out of your ass. You threw the grill. Not only that, but this happens like 15 times in this episode. And he also acts childish. I know it's supposed to be justified because, hey, Rick is stupid. But since he denied to have any sort of guilt, I just want him to shut the fuck up.
But that doesn't make any sense. I mean, you've said that it was justified. Maybe that Mordecai was innocent to begin with as to why Mordecai would get angry at Rigby. Also, again, Rigby is completely at fault about this, because not only is Mordecai trying to stop the fire from happening, but if anything, you could possibly have two complaints about why Mordecai would be at fault, and he would still be innocent because of some possible exceptions. If your complaint is how the grill is damaged by the water or the fall because of it, since it seems like a charcoal grill, it's only been in the water for a while, and it seems like the grill doesn't have any physical damage from the fall, it should be just fine. Once it dries up, it should start grilling again. If your complaint is how you could have done another safety precaution, then we'll get into that later.
Okay, I have a couple points against this. First off, if it was a charcoal grill and it would basically just be back to normal, it not only makes none of them at fault, disagreeing with both of our points, actually considering it's Jack, all three of our points, well, you did it partner, so all four of your points.
But also, it contradicts what your partner said earlier.
Well, yeah, he threw the grill in the river because the hot dogs were on fire. If he didn't stop the fire as soon as possible, it could have very well spread off the grill onto, say, the grass, for example. If anything, Rigby is completely at fault for this, and Mordecai is forced to stop it before anything could happen.
Now, most of you guys would be confused of why I played the clip. The reason why I played the clip is because his partner said that it would only be Rigby's fault.
So, MTR saying Rigby is at fault goes against Dynamo saying Rigby is at fault. What? Rigby said Mordecai was innocent. Jack shouldn't be mad because he practically admitted that Mordecai was innocent. The grill was charcoal, so it shouldn't be damaged, and that Rigby is still at fault for setting the grill on fire. Meanwhile, Dynamo said that Mordecai had to think quickly so the grass wouldn't catch on fire, so this is still Rigby's fault for catching the hot dogs on fire. A contradiction is a statement that goes against another statement. So tell me this, how is this a contradiction? Yeah, I thought so. And I'll be skipping a little bit because the rest of the points she makes is just more of the same.
In this newfangled age, you can get almost anything. You can get a Bible if you're a theologian, and if you're really horny, you can even get a Trojan.
Wow. Don't you think this skip card kind of drags on to a point where it becomes annoying? After all, it is 10 seconds. My advice? Shorten your skip cards to 5 seconds at maximum.
Fine, I'll fix it. You mean like when you fix the grill? You threw it on the river, Mordecai, instead of, I don't know, using fire extinguishers.
Hey Dynamo, what time is it?
4:20?
Nope, it's later! So now we get into the other complaint on why you think Mordecai was at fault here. Well, here's two theoretical questions. One, what if they don't know where the fire extinguisher is? They only could have been within the park for only that long, that's to the point where they don't know where everything is exactly. Now you can argue that they could tell Benson or someone else within the park about this, but they could get into trouble or face some consequences later on, like losing their jobs, for example. You can also argue that even if they do know as to where it is, maybe due to some lecture that they have to sit through, this brings us to
2. What if there isn't a fire extinguisher near where they're at? Especially since we couldn't see one when looking at the episode. Like what I said, the fire could have spread from the grill into the grass, and it could have been too late to find an extinguisher and take it out since that does take time. So I can understand as to why Mordecai had to throw it into the river, because of his initial reaction. And even if they were to find a fire extinguisher with the fire somehow not spreading, the hot dog still would have been ruined from the fire, and possibly covered in CO2 from the extinguisher.
Those theoretical questions are shit! Now for Lemmy's one. What if they don't have a fire extinguisher? Bullshit. It is a safety requirement to have a fire extinguisher in an event in case if something goes down.
And where did you hear this? Do you have screenshots to prove this? No? Okay then. But fine, let's say that you were a credible source of information. Then riddle me this. How would Mordecai and Rigby know this? And I think it's safe to say that Mordecai is a quick thinker. So, to see him search for a fire extinguisher would probably clash with his character traits, seeing as how he threw the grill into the river. Plus, what if Benson, or anyone else for that matter, didn't have an extinguisher? Just because having one is a requirement doesn't mean that they automatically have one. And what if they just didn't have the time to get a fire extinguisher without the grass or pretty much anything else in the area catching on fire? Seriously, there is so much wrong with this point. And I'll be skipping a rather decent point. Too bad the flawed ones still outweigh the good ones.
All you do is mess things up and ruin people's lives. Not a bit too harsh. Stop pretending like you do anything but get me in trouble. You can't fix anything. And now, I'm gonna die because of you. No! Dude, don't be mad at me! Mordecai, don't die mad at me! Dude, This needs 3 things. Editing, music, and some likability from Mordecai.
Okay, what's wrong with the editing? Honestly, it looks fine to me, so maybe you could touch on this a bit more? Second, I'm pretty sure the creatives were trying to make it a slightly realistic scenario, with Rigby scared that his friend would die mad at him, and Mordecai appearing to freeze to death. Music would just make it come off as melodramatic.
Actually, there's 2 things about this. First off, the editing, it is average, but a scene to make this better would actually make it look better.
And how would the editing make this better? She doesn't say. And again, like I explained earlier, it's Cobb and Jack's job to explain this kind of stuff.
Also, the music. What kind of normal person just gets stuck with the leak walker and with someone he calls his friend yet hates? Yeah, right. Totally normal scenario to me.
You do know that there is a thing in storytelling called character development, right? As in, Mordecai used to think of Rigby as a friend, but after many screw-ups, he doesn't think so fondly of Rigby anymore. What's so unrealistic about that? Also, how is getting stuck in a meat locker unrealistic? Let's say that somebody locked themselves in a meat locker and died of hypothermia. There is practically nothing about that scenario that is quote-unquote unrealistic, for that can happen in the real world. With most of these interjections, I could at least see where you're coming from, but definitely not with this one.
Also, sometimes when someone puts no music, it comes off as awkward. If you keep saying that I have no proof, well, at this point, I actually do have proof.
Next time, I'll remember. And look great doing it. Like a true fashionista. Hey!
You do know that these clips don't speak for themselves, right? You could have explained why this is awkward, but you don't. On top of that, Music is usually used in media to set moods and emphasize emotions, so using music in this clip, which was from an Eddie the Eagle cartoon, thanks Saber Spark, would feel absolutely pointless.
And if you're gonna say this scenario isn't really realistic, well, it's actually about someone finding a gun, and all these people are kids. And this is actually way more realistic than just someone being stuck in a leak bunker with someone he hates yet likes. So, do shut up.
It's also a cartoon about talking birds, so shut up.
Also, post-editing me time. Well, remember when the scene where Mordecai just cross-eyes called Rigby that he'll never fix anything, and then tries to act dead? Emphasis on act. Well, this actually proves Comm and Jack's point of Mordecai being childish. Correct. So, do shut up even harder.
I was originally going to skip this point because it did seem good at face value, but then I realized something. Though, yes, this does prove Jack's point, shouldn't that be something that Jack pointed out? He is the presenter after all. He should, I don't know, actually present.
Oh, hey, you're awake! Mordecai! Mordecai! I told you I could fix it! While you were dead, I found these talking hot dogs, and they're gonna help us.
What?
Second, I'm pretty sure the creatives were trying to make it a slightly realistic scenario.
Asriel, no. When he said the show was trying to make a realistic scenario, he was referring to the Mordecai's gonna die in the locker scene, not this scene with the talking hot dogs. So congratulations, you took him out of context.
You can't fix anything, and now I'm gonna die because of you. No! Dude, don't be mad at me! Mordecai, don't die mad at me! Dude,
This needs 3 things. Editing, music, and some likability from Mordecai.
Okay, what's wrong with the editing? Honestly, it looks fine to me, so maybe you could touch on this a bit more? Second, I'm pretty sure the creators were trying to make it a slightly realistic scenario, with Rigby scared that his friend would die mad at him, and Mordecai appearing to freeze to death. Music would just make it come off as melodramatic.
Plus he said slightly realistic scenario. Emphasis on slightly.